Welcome to Animeconomy. What if the greatest battles of our time, the huge clashes that define who we are all following a hidden script? What if the road to tyranny isn't some sudden dramatic fall, but a series of small, seemingly logical steps, each one taking us a little deeper into the dark? Today, we're diving into an idea so powerful, it claims to pull back the curtain on the hidden logic behind our society's biggest and most painful conflicts. Now, this isn't just some dusty old quote. For the economist Ludwig von Mises, it was a prophecy. He saw this epic battle of ideas raging just beneath the surface of the 20th century, a fight he was convinced would define the world we live in today. So let's be clear, this isn't going to be some dry, boring economic lecture. This is the story of a choice, a fundamental choice between two powerful opposing forces that shape everything. So where does the story even begin? Well, according to Mises, it starts with a universal enemy, a system that just about everyone loves to hate, a system blamed for pretty much everything, the free market, or capitalism. Now for Mises, this just meant an economy driven by the daily choices of regular people like you and me, not by some central command. And yet, this simple idea was under fire from absolutely every direction. I mean, just look at this for a second. The contradictions are just wild, right? How can the same exact system be blamed for keeping religion alive and for spreading atheism, for wrecking the family and for clinging to old traditions? For Mises, this wasn't just people being hypocritical. No, it was a massive clue that everyone was looking at the wrong thing. They were aiming all their anger at the wrong target because the real enemy, he argued, was hiding in plain sight. Okay, so if capitalism isn't the real villain of the story, then who is? This is where Mises points his finger at the true antagonist. And it's not what you might think. It's not pure socialism. It's something way more seductive and, in his view, way more dangerous. He called it interventionism. And on the surface, it sounds pretty reasonable, doesn't it? A third way, a mixed economy. You get the best of both worlds, all the innovation and energy of capitalism, but with the safety and compassion of government oversight. It sounds like the perfect compromise. But Mises, he just wasn't buying it. He saw this third way as a total mirage. He argued it's not a stable, happy middle ground at all. Instead, it's an unstable, self-destructing process. He was convinced that every single time a government steps in to fix a problem in the market, it doesn't actually make things better. It unleashes chaos. So, you're probably wondering, how does this actually happen? How do we get from a well-meaning policy to total chaos? Well, Mises laid out this chain reaction, this relentless, inescapable logic that he saw playing out over and over again. Let's just walk through this. It always starts with something simple, right? Something that sounds good. The government wants to help out families, so it puts a cap on the price of milk to make it more affordable. Great, but what happens next? The farmers who were barely making a profit before now start losing money, so they stop producing milk. And suddenly you have a milk shortage, the literal opposite of what the government wanted. So, to fix that new problem, the government has to go deeper. Now it has to control the price of cow seed and the wages for farm workers. And that process just keeps going, a relentless cascade, until the government isn't just controlling milk anymore. It's being forced to control every single piece of the economy. And here's the kicker. For Mises, this wasn't just a possibility, it was an inevitability. Once you start down this road, there's no stable, happy, mixed economy at the end of it. He argued it's a one-way street that always ends in a system of total state control, what he, very controversially, called socialism of the German pattern. The key takeaway is that in his view, even the most well-intentioned fixes can trigger a chain reaction with consequences that nobody wanted, ultimately destroying the very system they were trying to help. If this is starting to make you see the world in a new light, maybe take a moment to share this message with someone who you think needs to hear it. Okay, so if that's the road to ruin, what's the alternative? Is it just total anarchy? No. Mises had a very different idea of freedom. He believed the free market actually creates its own kind of powerful order, a kind of democracy that's incredibly responsive to the people. This right here is one of his biggest, most powerful ideas. He argued that the market isn't some chaotic battlefield where only the rich win. It's more like an election that's held every single second of every single day, where every one of us gets to vote. And this really boils it all down to one simple question, doesn't it? Who should be in charge of production? Should it be a central planner, some government authority making all the big decisions for us? Or Should it be us, the consumers, directing the whole show through millions of our own tiny individual choices every day? So when you hear the words profit and loss, don't just think about money. Mises saw them as signals, direct messages from us. A profit is just consumers saying, yes, we want more of this, please. And a loss is us saying, nope, stop doing that, we don't want it. From this perspective, every single time you buy something, every coffee, every book, every download, you're casting a vote. You're shaping the world and giving power to the people who are best at serving your needs. But what happens when a society chooses the other path? What's the real price we pay when we abandon that democracy of the market for what feels like the safety of a central plan? This is where Mises' thinking gets really, really deep. We're not just talking about economics anymore. We're talking about the very soul of a civilization. To him, the desire to plan an entire society runs into a terrifying problem: the rule of law. See, a central planner can't be tied down by laws that protect you and me as individuals. To achieve their vision of the greater good, the planner has to have the power to act without limits, to ignore our rights, to treat people not as individuals, but as mere tools to build their perfect world. The rule of law is like the shield. It's the one thing that protects us from the raw, arbitrary power of the state. It's the simple idea that nobody, not even the people in charge, is above the law. But Mises argued that when that shield is broken, something ancient and something terrible gets loose. So, what are these demons he's talking about? He's talking about the darkest parts of human nature, right? The impulse to use violence, to coerce, to dominate other people. He believed that for thousands of years, civilization has been the slow, hard process of building walls to contain those impulses. Walls made of law, of individual rights, of the core idea that every single person has dignity. But the philosophy of total planning, he argued, doesn't just put cracks in those walls, it smashes them to pieces and calls it progress. And so, at the end of it all, Mises leaves us with this huge, provocative question. Is that tempting promise of a third way, of a perfectly managed and planned society, is it just an illusion? Is it a path that, no matter how good our intentions are, doesn't lead to utopia, but back to the very tyranny we were trying to run from? Is the choice really that black and white? The market or the planner? Freedom or force? What do you think? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Anime Economy and check the link in the description to get the book.